You doing a video or are you doing a picture?
Doing a video.
He's like carrying all my shit out of whack.
That might be as close as you're gonna get.
Yeah, a little cant.
Nope, 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 nope. There we go. Nope, 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 nope. We're gonna watch Tyler here for a second. Tyler, do you mind being recorded?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm on witness protection. I mean, one sec, bro.
And here, we see the auto mechanic in his natural environment.
One's done. One is dead. It didn't squirt very good.
Alright. We go get a drink, come right back.
You want to test fit your bearings before installation. This one is wider than these ones, so that's how we know it's our front bearing. And then go through and make sure your bearings fit in the correct order. This one has a tighter tolerance on the second roller, whereas this one will only fit the second roller and not the third. So go ahead and make sure to get those in the correct orientation with the oil holes lined up with the oil holes on your block.
Oop. That's not a great way to start.
It's hard to tell what I am or I'm not doing. There we go. Oh. So now we're going to need something.
Okay.
I mean, that's a happy engine if I ever seen it. Alright guys, back on the V8. I know it's been a while, but it is time to get this puppy together and running. We have the cam installed. All 8 pistons are in their cylinders. We're getting prepared to install the new timing components. and get the windage tray and oil pan back on the bottom. The goal today is to have a completely sealed engine. Here on the underside you can see we've got all 8 rods connected with rod caps. The crank's installed. All the main bearing journal caps are in, torqued down. So I used the parts washer to give our old hardware a clean real quick, and I'm going to reutilize that with the new parts. Need a 1/2-inch socket for these 3 bolts. So in order to set timing on the Hemi V8, this slot in the center of this cog, at the top of it, there is a divot mark on the back of this gear. Right there. You're going to take the singular different colored piece of your chain and line it up with that dot on this gear. And then on the bottom of the chain you have 2 different colored links. They're going to line up with the dot on the smaller crankshaft gear that is also keyed. So this little divot right here on the smaller crank, it does not line up with the keyed portion of this, but that's to set your timing to be correct. You want to put that dot in between the 2 different colored links. What this is going to do is put your cam top dead center with your crankshaft about 2 o'clock position. Alright guys, using your 1/2-inch socket, the torque spec for these 3 bolts holding your effectively thrust plate on is 21 foot-pounds. You want to put your chain on the cam cog first and then align it with this before you set this cog into place and insert this bolt. Otherwise you're not going to be able to get your chain on because this has 0 give. For good reason. That's tight. Ooh, that's tight. If you're having trouble torquing this down because it's rotating on you, and when you go to apply opposite force, this bolt loosens. If you spin to this position, you should be able to stick a screwdriver through the cam gear and lock it into place with the bolt face on the back side, giving you the ability to apply 90 foot-pounds of pressure. Now what you'll want to do is go through a few rotations and make sure that all your marks stay lined up and good to go. So this mark needs to be lined up with the singular discolored chain link. This is for your cam gear, and this should be while you're at top dead center. Remember that the closest cylinder to you when you're looking at the front of the block is cylinder number 1. That needs to be at the top of its stroke for top dead center. Have that mark lined up with the singular discolored link, and then for your crank gear, you need to have these 2 discolored links cradling that pin dot. It's really hard to see, but when you're holding the physical part, you'll see what I'm talking about, and that's how you'll be able to know that your timing is correct. This links the crankshaft with the pistons and rods rotating assembly to the camshaft, giving your vehicle correct timing. Now you can see it drew oil out of this one, so you know you've worked it around partially. Woo. All right, now I would say we're probably good. Oh yeah. This gear kind of free floats around, and you're going to need it to line up with the splines on your crankshaft gear. That's what drives your oil pump and creates circulation. going to use a 13mm bolt to torque these 4 bolts right here that hold on the oil pump. The torque spec for those is 35 foot-pounds. Oil pump installed! Now I'm going to use a little bit of oil on my glove to wet this surface so that the windage tray that contains the seal around the edge can make good contact. You want to set wet so it's wet, dry so it's dry. So on your windage tray, this hole is for that extended bolt on your 3rd main cap for your crankshaft. You're going to slide the windage tray onto that bolt, and then this side that has the angles on it, that's going to be at the front near your oil pump. I'm going to actually put the gasket on the pickup tube first. And then...
For those of you following along at home, make sure you keep your bag of parts where you think it is.
These are the roller bearings Carl's installing. There are 4 different sets of those. They just slide into those 4 holes, and they have a bolt that will hold them in right there, an 8mm bolt. These come heavily oiled out of the package, but we're adding just a little bit of assembly lube to the shank of the roller because it has the most contact with that cylinder, and they're known to have failing issues due to heat.
This is just a retaining thing, right? So it doesn't need to go.
They rub them out, and gently tap this guy in. And once you've got the seal all the way in and seated nicely, this is what it should look like. So this is our timing sensor. The plug is over here, just a 2-prong simple plug. And this sensor reads the holes inside of the cam gear. You can see right on your cam gear there's rectangular holes, and as it's rotating, the beam passes through, taking note of where those holes are at, and that's what tells your ECU the timing. If you see stuff that looks like remnants of boogers in your water pump like this, you may want to get a new one. So we got a new one. Alright, now that we've got all the bolts snug down on our new water pump, we're going to torque them down to 30 foot-pounds. We've transferred over the tensioner and the belt wheel that just spins, and the bolts for the thermostat. So on your MLS gasket, multi-layer steel, because there's multiple layers of steel, it says top right here. You want to be able to read that legibly, and then it'll say, we'll have an R in it for right side. From the back of the block, you'll want to look at the right side, and this will be your right gasket. You want to make sure that all of your holes line up, because there's water ports, bolt holes, everything needs to be used. So make sure all your holes line up and you should be good.
So these are the longer push rods that are going into the outer exhaust, guys. And we're just sliding these down out of the way and then pulling them up to get them underneath their positions.
There we go. Got a good angle on this one finally.
Okay, how about these guys? So putting him in, I'm gonna move this down to get it out of the way. And pull it, that's why these are really loose, so I can slide them all over the place.
Boom.
Double check in to make
glorious.
sure. We got this one decided it didn't want to play. So we're gonna move him just up and over. Come on. There we go. Now I just needed to slide the rocker. Once those are all in, I'm gonna push that down a little bit and just get these a little bit of tension.
So now we've got the rocker arm seated all the way down to the support of from the head, and we're going to torque the rocker arm bolts to 25 foot-pounds, making sure that the push rods stay in place and we're sitting right over top the springs. So these gaskets are for your valve cover. There's 4 for each valve cover, and you're going to want to put the smaller side into the valve cover, and this larger side will press against your engine block or your cylinder head. This thinner side will be pressed into the valve cover itself, and then the thicker side will go against the cylinder head.
Looks good.
So we're back on the Hemi, and hopefully doing last finishing steps to get it ready to go back in that. So Carl took the liberty and got all of our spark plugs inserted. He used a 10mm socket and ratchet to get the ignition coils. Used a 10mm socket to tighten in the MDS plugs. Time to get the exhaust manifolds back on, and we'll be one step closer.
We're gonna move the radiator, yes, but not this second. Go that way.
I think that's about where it needs to be.
Slowly. We need to come down 2.5 inches. So while I've got the engine up and out, I'm gonna go ahead and replace the engine mounts because it shouldn't do this. Actually a really good angle to see what we're up against here. The engine mount up here is connected by 2 bolts inside around studs here and here if you've got the OEM stuff. We're going to take that off, show you the new stuff and how it differs. The bolts that hold it to the frame mount, that's really loose. This has not been tightened yet, and you can see that that's just free floating there. That bolt probably is going to fall off and just get trapped in this cavity. Oh, jeez. Really? And if you're taking these out with the engine still in the bay, I highly recommend finding yourself the proper tool to be able to get this Torx setting out. This entire stud can be pulled out that way so that this can be slid out as just a small unit rather than having to feed these all the way through the frame. Again, this one's your passenger side. This one is your driver's side. And this matters, you'll notice this because the holes that line up with what goes to the engine mount offset the holes for the mount to the engine block differently. When you have them on the wrong side, you'll notice that nothing seems to line up. There's too big a gap between your transmission and your engine, too big a gap between your exhaust pipes, catback, and the exhaust manifold from the engine. There's just too big a gap. If you get them on the correct side so that the passenger's on passenger, driver's on driver, that'll close that gap up.
Last time you saw the V8, I think we just finished assembling it, but it is in the car. We've got this thing, made it up to the transmission. Carl's gone ahead and got the alternator hooked up, the AC compressor's hooked up. We still need to put the starter in. We're gonna get this thing started today, eh, Carl?
Oh yeah.
Carl has all the torque converter bolts in.
I just sat on a socket.
Did we torque those to 31 foot-pounds?
Which one?
Torque converter bolts.
Torque converter bolts. Go to, yes, 31 foot-pounds.
Okay, we torqued the torque converter bolts to 31 foot-pounds. We got the starter in. Carl's tightened all the bell housing bolts, the exhaust nuts, got the heat shields on, attached the NOx sensor on the passenger side, and I'm starting to work on getting the front end back together. So this bracket right here bolts on the bottom, and that's what the radiator sits in. This headlight grill bar will bolt in 2 bolts on each side and then 1 on the lower side right there, so 6 bolts holding that. We'll have to reattach the hood release cable, figure out where a handful of wiring goes and stuff, but it's coming along. Several hours have passed. We have put all of the car back in the car, so now we're going to go for a first start. We've filled it with water, filled it with oil, put the oil filter on, got all the sensors in the right place, which was not as easy as one would hope. Connected the upper and lower radiator hoses, got the cooler in there, the fans are back in there, all the fuel injectors are back in place, everything's plugged in for the coil packs, for the fuel injectors. So in your fuse box here, this one is your oil fuel pump relay. Pull that, do a couple cranks to get the oil pump primed. But all things considered, I think we're ready for a first start. All right, go ahead there, Carl. What's your RPMs at?
1,000.
Huh?
1,000.
Okay.
It's calming down now. Just about 750.
Looks like she's healthy.
The oil pressure sensor has been torqued down to spec. And the pre-cat O2 sensor driver side has been replaced as the diagnostic code indicated. So hopefully this will last past the bypass mode over into sensor mode.
Alright guys, we've got the i3 Diablo tune on here. We tuned it to not look for the MDS sensors.
MDS is
right. But other than that, it's still pretty factory, isn't it? Like, there's no...
Yeah, it's just a Diablo.
There's no fuel or air messing or anything. Yeah. So... Oh, what was the oil temperature sensor, right?
Yeah.
So last time we were missing the oil temperature sensor, and that's why it kept dying. Carl's got that all buttoned up, so we're gonna see how it does right now.
Switches from bypass mode on startup over to sensor. Then we'll know whether or not it's tuned. It might be stable. It might be stable. You want to
Think
pass
so?
me the blue driver?
Yeah. We're gonna use a blue driver OBD2 reader to see if we're throwing any codes or what that's telling us. But we might be stable. This is longer than it held last time at all, for sure, isn't it?
By a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. It held it, though.
It did. It also might not be liking the things we're turning off and on with the OBD2 reader.
Oh, that's a good point. That's the slowest it's held. The revolutions per minute.
What is it at?
Like just over 500, 550.
Oh, jeez.